Well, Scott Dixon was the first man out on track yesterday as 33 drivers took the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on what we dubbed Super Sunday. Didn't go all that well for Josef Newgarden. Of the three Penske's, he qualified the lowest for the 110th running of this great race. Pato O'Ward had a handful all day, but made it up into the final qualifying positions. And when we fought from the 12 down to the 6, this man, Alexander Rossi, put down a sensational run to take the provisional pole and was only bested by this man, the four-time champion and the reigning Indy 500 champion. Not even Felix Rosenqvist, who had been the fastest throughout the day, could topple him. And so Alex Palou is on the pole for the Indy 500. And as if a week of practice and a Super Sunday of qualifying wasn't enough, we're back at the Speedway for more practice. Welcome back to Indianapolis on this Monday practice day. But the guys are going to have to get out on track pretty fast because this is what the radar looks like. Rain is coming thick and fast. But this is how your grid looks for the 110th running of the Indianapolis 500. Alex Palou back on pole. Alexander Rossi and David Malukas with their best ever career starts here at Indy. The same goes for Santino Ferrucci, Kippen Simpson, and Connor Daly. As we roll through the field, Takuma Sato, Ed Carpenter, Helio Castro-Neves. What an incredible mix of experience there between rows 4 and 5. But you'll see Marcus Ericsson down there along with Will Power and Carl Kirkwood. It was a disappointing day for Andretti. Catherine Legg with her best ever qualifying run at Indianapolis. Mick Schumacher has ended up being the fastest rookie because the sensational run by Caio Collet ultimately resulted in a post-qualifying penalty. Jack Harvey also succumbing to the exact same penalty. They will start from 32nd and 33rd. Welcome back to the Speedway. I'm Will Buxton. He's Townsend Bell. He's James Hinchcliffe. And guys, what a day Super Sunday was. Oh, it was fantastic. I mean, the concentration of the qualifying into one day made for some great action. Some really interesting storylines. I look at Newgarden's struggle. Nobody saw that coming based on how Team Penske was on setup. But then just another, frankly, soul-crushing performance from Alex Palou right at the end. He was 11th in the top 12 run, made the adjustments in the cockpit with the setup, ends up on pole once again. A brilliant job from Chip Ganassi Racing.
Yeah, you saw the reaction from Alex Rossi there, who was sitting on provisional pole until that final run, and it was sort of just acceptance. It was an inevitability, wasn't it? But what I loved about the format yesterday, guys, was that every run mattered. It all counted for something. Those first runs were trying to get into the top 12. The second runs, if you were lucky enough to do that, into the Fast 6. And of course, those third runs going for pole. It really did heighten every single time a race car was on the racetrack. Thought it was just absolute cinema. Fantastic action all day long. Yeah, as we alluded to at the start, there have been 2 penalties applied overnight, though, to 2 of the drivers in the Indianapolis 500. One, our dear friend and colleague, Jack Harvey. The other, the rookie sensation, Caio Collet. And it's for a relatively minor infringement. It's not a performance-enhancing infringement. It's merely the way in which a part of the suspension was actually sort of attached to the car, very similar to what happened to the Andretti cars last year when they were thrown out of the Indy 500 results. But it shouldn't take away, I don't think, from the effort that Caio Collet put in yesterday to get himself up there into the top 12. It was an astonishing rookie run. He did a brilliant job, looked so smooth and mature behind the wheel. Jack Harvey will start at the back now, too. He's been one of the fastest cars through practice, but I think today is so important for all the other things that are not about outright speed. It's what happens on pit lane, a chance to practice all the subtleties. We go now down to our team, Georgia Hannaberry, Jamie Little, and Kevin Lee. What's up, guys?
And we're going to start from one of my favorite locations right behind us, Kathleen Alley. This famous walk-on race day morning out here with a chance to fulfill your dreams. And we get Jamie back from NASCAR. You're ours now, at least part of the time. You still have some NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series work.
That's right. We were so busy this weekend. We had the All-Star race last night. Flew home late last last night. Back home again in Indiana. Very happy to be with you guys. Great job in qualifying. Oh my gosh, I was holding my breath, and the emotion in the Fast Six, especially yesterday. But we got our pit selection, so excited about that. Alex Palou, one of my guys, just talked to him. He's waiting on the pit box. He probably won't roll out for another 20 minutes or so. But how about Santino Ferrucci? Did not see that coming in the Fast Six, qualified fifth. So a lot of great stories throughout the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, I want to say you guys look amazing in the booth. But I got to highlight our outfits down here today. We're bringing our A game this Monday practice, courtesy of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway merch store. They have such cool stuff each and every year. But I have a great section as well. But someone who stands out to me and to a lot of fans around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is Helio Castroneves, because that drive for 5 is very much still alive. He's going to start 14th, but guess what? He's won this race from 13th and 11th, so one spot behind. But if anyone can do it, it's Helio Castroneves.
Maybe my biggest surprise from yesterday was Josef Newgarden. He started in the back last year. This year he's starting near the back on merit, not a disqualification. They just did not have the pace, so he is going to be starting 23rd. But we saw him go from 32nd in the top 5 before they had mechanical last year. And Newgarden says, we just don't have the outright pace in qualifying, Trim, but the race car is good. Newgarden should be someone to watch charge through the field as he tries to win for the 3rd time in 4 years coming up next Sunday.
Thanks, guys. Well, look at the order in this early running, just over 5 minutes into the session. Jack Harvey and Caio Collet, sensing possibly a bit of anger in those early runs.
Well, I just talked to Jack about 20 minutes ago before he climbed into the car, and was encouraging him to practice on the first couple of laps right now, run into the high side. I said, before everybody gets up to speed in anger, I want Jack to see the sight lines, get the familiarity, kind of like highline practice on a normal oval, get comfortable up high, because you're going to need to move forward and take good opportunity early, and there's no better way to do that than on the outside. You've seen that from Connor Daly, Tony Kanaan for so many years. I think there's a lot of cars further back that are going to look to the outside in the first few laps.
Santino Ferrucci, Christian Rasmussen, Josef Newgarden, Alex Rossi, the list goes on. There are definitely a lot of examples of being able to move up through the field. But Townsend, let me ask you this. Jack Harvey, he's starting 33rd and last, shotgun on the field. What's the furthest back that you ever started in this race?
I'd have to check. I don't remember.
Were you ever on the back row?
No, never. 25th, maybe?
I've been on the back row, and let me tell you, you don't have a lot of options when you go into turn 1. The cars in front of you are going to dictate where you're going to go in a big way. The amount of dirty air, it's you let off the throttle and start finish line, you're still accelerating. The amount of draft and tow from 32 other cars just pulls your car into the corner with almost no grip or downforce whatsoever.
So answer me this. Do you hang back knowing that you're starting on the last row of the grid, or
Absolutely
is it
not.
full
Absolutely
beans?
not. Full beans, capitalize on other guys' mistakes, get your way forward.
But invariably, you're typically going to have a rookie or two that you're going to come across in that big wake, and maybe a couple other one-offs that haven't been racing much. And I find in those situations, people tend to get kind of gun shy. Everything sort of backs up. At least that's when I've watched those last row onboards from the start of the race. And when there's fear, have no fear. That's Warren Buffett, and I always find that's why Tony Kanaan, way back in the day, Thomas Schechter making huge moves on starts or the restarts by taking advantage of other drivers' trepidation. Is it higher risk? Absolutely, but this is the Indy 500. It's not about a top 10. It's not about a podium. It's about one thing, victory at the end of 500 miles.
I'm very much enjoying the humble brag this morning, Townsend. I wouldn't know what it's like to start from the last row of the grid for the Indy 500.
We'll ask, what is my worst ever starting position, Mr. Bowles?
Find it out.
Let's see what we can find out.
Oh, on board with Pato O'Ward. I took some laps of the track with him this morning. He is fired up. He says he's got himself a race car this month of May. Let's not forget, he was not happy with his qualifying runs at all yesterday. Didn't believe he had a great qualifying car and still found himself up at the sharp end.
Shake and bake on his teammate there, Nolan Siegel.
I think he went left, noticed there was a car running slow and thought, nah, and had enough of a run. He knew he cleared the 6 either way. But that's what happens here. This practice session, carb day practice next Friday, you end up getting put into situations that are kind of sketchy and situations that you will never see on race day. Guys backing up to the field, trying to position themselves in the middle of the pack. So you almost have to be more heads up in a lot of ways on these last 2 practice sessions.
I think this is the most important practice as the caution is out for track inspection. And let me tell you why. All of last week, yes, you are running on race trim, but you always have an eye to qualifying. You're always thinking with your team and engineers about optimizing drag and those sorts of things. Your opportunity to improve all of that is by and large gone. When we come back here on Friday for Carb Day, it is madness. We've got the Weenie 500 pit stop competition. The sponsors have flown in. There's maybe 100,000 people here partying their tails off. This is the really simple, pure day for focusing on mastering race craft and race behavior on pit lane. A critical opportunity for all the men and women you see here.
Here in a cut to the right front tire of Helio Castroneves. That is why we are under a caution here. Track inspection.
Track is expensive.
Thanks, buddy.
This is Indy's champagne. It doesn't come from Champagne, France, but from the southern region of this Holstein dairy cow. Rich, smooth, and best paired with victory.
The official IndyCar app, powered by NTT Data, puts the pulse-pounding action of IndyCar right at your fingertips. Never miss a lap with the latest news, highlights, and live race coverage. Track every move with real-time leaderboards, interactive maps, onboard cameras, and driver radio. Your all-access pass to every race, every moment, every day. Download the official IndyCar app now.
Well, that's what they're all chasing. The Borg Warner, and more importantly, to get their face and their name etched on the side of it. Under a caution here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
One of the other things that you get to practice starting today is pitting at speed in anger off of turn 4, which is obviously how it's done in the race. You pit the rest of the month, short of this practice and carb day, off of turn 3. The speed limit also starts much further into pit lane, so a completely different reference point for what the drivers have been experiencing up to this point in the month. And this is super important, just because, you know, Townsend mentioned it at the top of the show, just the perils of pit lane. It all starts right here at the pit lane speed limit.
So you'll be peeling off of turn 4, somewhere around here. You'll come off of full throttle right about there, crank immediately onto the brakes, and it's a threshold brake at the last possible second, all the way to the pit line, which is well past the attenuator. You see these empty pit boxes right here. And pit speed is all the way up here. By the way, super sketchy for these teams, like that of Jack Harvey and Dreyer Reinbold, the 77 of Stingray Robb. This is the pit speed line right here.
That may not be Jack Harvey's pit stall going into the Indy 500. These stalls today were determined by qualifying finishing order, but now that the grid has been set, Jack will be the last who gets to choose his grid position.
Someone might want that.
Well, I'm pretty sure somebody will. And so Jack may lose that. Fascinating talking to Pato this morning. And guys, there's something I want to talk to you about just quickly. When you have to hit the brakes here for the first time, you don't use the brakes out on this lap ever at all, unless you're in a bit of a sticky situation. How tough is it to get that braking right on freezing cold brakes at a car running at that pace?
They're ice cold unless you warm them a little bit, which I would always do as I knew I was coming in. It's just to drag a little bit of like 2% brake pressure through turns 3 and 4 and build a little temperature. The other thing is optimizing your brake bias. One trick I used to do is with my engine tech, James, I would set a throttle kill mode at about a 90-mile-an-hour threshold. So what that allowed me to do is, as I was downshifting below 90 miles an hour to the pit speed of 60 miles an hour, the throttle would be inactive. So I could crack the throttle, and then the moment my speed hit 60, heavy on the brakes, right at 60, I would land perfect, as opposed to over slow down to 50, 45, and then accelerate back up to 60. And, you know, did you have any tricks coming to pit lane?
I had that one.
Yeah.
I guess it wasn't much of a trick.
Yeah.
But same thing. You just basically bury both feet.
Yep.
And then as soon as you felt the car lurch, you could pop off the left foot.
Yeah, but not all drivers did that.
No,
I remember
that's
it was
true.
like a custom software code that you would have to request. You know, the other thing is just finding your bias to get into the pit box versus threshold braking to the pit lane. Typically getting into the box, you want more rear brake bias than when you're braking for pit speed. With higher speeds and a lot more energy. What are you looking at that the Penske team is looking to block us from?
Well, that's exactly it. You don't often see that here in IndyCar, but a very intentional positioning of the piece of bodywork so that we can't see the changes that McLaughlin's having put on his car. Final changes being made. We'll get back to green when we return.
The Indy 500 doesn't have a red carpet. It has bricks, riddled with oil, dirt, and 114 years of history. Pucker up.
The green flag flies. The IndyCar Fantasy Challenge, driven by Firestone, is back.
It's overtaken, same as you.
This is your chance to prove you know the fastest racing on Earth better than anyone else.
So just take care of the tires. Stay in rhythm here.
Pick your driver.
All good. Let's get back in the game here.
Build your team.
You guys are in demand.
Compete against friends and family for bragging rights, plus some epic prizes.
It's going to be like 2 or 3 laps flat out here.
Get started for free at IndyCar.com/fantasy or by downloading Grid Rival on the App Store and Google Play.
Hey, stay under. Keep going. We're going to have to pass those guys. Let's go, boys! Checker flag, man. Congratulations, everybody.
And we are back at the Speedway. And while we're under yellow, what better than to practice your swing? There's a golf course next door, boys. The swing over there. Ah, there we go. Oh, that's in the trees.
I don't know, effortless. A little bit low on the trajectory, but the club looks to be doing most of the work there.
That's my problem. Let the club do the work. Jack Harvey's ready.
Felt like I was just hanging out where I was in that line. Way racier today, I would say. But I felt like I was ready if someone did make a mistake just to like blow by them. So
That's kind of what you have to do where Jack's at. I know you've never been back there, Townsend, as you so kindly reminded us. But when you're at the back of the...
Why would you want to be back there?
I'm not saying you want to. Sometimes situation and circumstance and fortune put you there. And what ends up happening is, you're right. I mean, we talk about guys who say that once you're third, fourth, fifth car in line, it's sort of tough to move up that line, as we see some nice 3-wide action heading into one.
The old timers club.
And so, that's right, it was. And so what you end up having to do is, you know, you try to utilize the start and the restarts. New tires are usually good for the odd move or two. But then you sort of go into a mode of picking off spots as other drivers make mistakes, right? It's about being consistent, being close enough, but not having some failed pass attempt result in you having to dump the throttle, lose your momentum, and then you get passed. You sit there and you wait for the guys in front of you to have a botched pass attempt, and then you're able to capitalize on it. That's Jack sort of saying that's what he was doing. That's the kind of patience that he's going to need over this 500-mile race.
Elio putting the double loop on Malukas and Alexander Rossi. Georgia down on pit lane. Georgia, we had that yellow because of a cut to Elio's tire.
Yeah, well, you're right about that. The track inspection came out so they could try to find what cut Helio Castroneves' right front tire. It's right here. This is the little cut. I talked to Kara at Firestone just a moment ago, asked her if they knew what it was. She said it really could have been anything, a nut, a bolt. It doesn't have to be big in order to do damage like this. I said earlier in our first ever Georgia the Explorer piece that a Firestone tire is just as thick as about a penny. So it really doesn't take much at all for something like this to happen. The good news, Helio Castroneves came back to pit lane. They changed it, and he's back out on track right now.
That's not a little cut.
It's not, and that can have big consequences. And I'm surprised Georgia didn't insist on being in the AMR safety truck when they did their track inspection after the hawk-eyed approach and performance that we saw during practice when she found but a bolt.
They need her eagle eyes.
Sitting there in turn 2. I love that sound, man. When you've got a line of Indy cars doing 220 past the camera, that is just awesome.
You can tell there's some urgency here right now. I just talked to Kelly out at Brewburger in Brownsburg, and it's just about to start pouring. She said it's about 20 minutes to the west of here as the storm rolls in. You can see the ominous skies in the backdrop, and everybody getting after it now to do their final tuning.
What was the name of the establishment she worked for?
Brewburger.
Is there a Brewburger in Brownsburg?
Apparently.
Pizza last week.
There's definitely
Burgers
one downtown.
this week.
There's definitely one up north. Didn't know about it west.
Jamie Little, what's going on?
Well, you guys were talking about the drivers being able to practice getting in and out of their pit boxes. Their pit crews can actually do hot stops today at the end of practice from 2:30 to 3. So we're hoping that the weather holds up. Meanwhile, our pole sitter, Alex Palou, sitting on the timing stand. And it's not why you think. It's not because they just wanted to wait a little bit. He told me they had so many obligations this morning after getting the pole. They had to do the whole team photo. They had to do the customary front row photo, and he had to do media availability that his team didn't have the time that they needed to get it completely switched over to race runs. So he said probably 25 minutes or so. I believe he is the only car still in the garage. So Alex patiently waiting out here to get on track.
Wow, that is very. He looks very calm. He looks calmer than I'd be in that situation, sitting there on the timing stand. You know, at the end of the day, guys, we're here to go racing, and it's important to get all that stuff done, all the photos done, the media obligations. But it should never come at the expense of getting track time. Because if it were to rain in the next 20 minutes and he doesn't get out on the racetrack, it's a pretty big penalty for being pretty awesome yesterday.
No guarantee it won't.
Kind of reminds me of when I was talking to you as you sat in your NASCAR truck at St. Pete, James, and you almost missed a chance to get out on track. Crew's yelling at me. We're having a good old catch up. Should never come at the expense of performance.
Track time.
Sato to the top, 225.7. Then it's Ericsson and Dixon, Harvey and O'Ward, Colette Rasmussen, Ferrucci, Grosjean, Hauger. That's your top 10, picture in picture. That is the car of Alex Palou. And that was a picture of Hollywood Harvey flying through the field, as he will hope to do.
That's what we need. That's what we're practicing for, bud. Clear 7.
The interesting thing with Jack is he had such a great car in clean air. His no-toe times were some of the fastest we saw from the open test all the way through last week, which is what made his qualifying run so galling for himself, for his team, for all of his fans and sponsors. But seeing that he's got the pace now in the traffic as well, which is where his teammate Connor Daly really excelled last week, will be very heartening.
Well, remember that, you know, Jack, ultimately the team did find a small issue on the car that sort of explained some of that pace difference to Daly in qualifying. That have been rectified. The only saving grace here is because of that technical infringement. It doesn't matter where he qualified. It's almost better he didn't have a great session, because then you'd be even more disappointed at losing 20 plus 25 spots rather than what he did.
I was going to ask that very question. Yeah. You know, the disappointment of having a slow qualifying run. Imagine if he qualified up with his teammate up in the top 12, fighting for the top 6, like Caio Collet, and then been pushed all the way to the back.
Well, it's the third time in 4 years that Jack Harvey will have started on the last row. So he's got practice. He knows what to look for. I love how quickly he cleared Graham Rahal and then closed about a 10-car length gap to the 21 there of Christian Rasmussen, that yellow and light blue car. His car's fast on its own, and it seems to have enough downforce to work in traffic. He looks very racy right now.
And he's catching and running closer to the back of Rasmussen than Rasmussen's able to off the back at Daly. So the 24 machine looking pretty racy at this stage of the tire life.
Let's talk about the guys on the front row, because each of them has managed to secure their best or equal best start for an Indianapolis 500. Alex Palou with his second ever pole. Alexander Rossi starts P2, his best ever. David Lucas starts third, his best ever. What a lineup on the front row we've got, and what sensational efforts from each of them yesterday.
Yeah, and I think 3 distinctly different kind of personalities and situations. You talk about Alexander Rossi, he'll start in the middle of that front row. I'd say the most aggressive of those 3 and the most experienced, being aggressive in his race car. So if the conditions are gnarly, if things get uncomfortable, let's say it's really windy on race day at the start, I could easily see a bold move from this guy to take the lead early and just settle in and put his head down. You contrast that to the patience of Alex Palou, the precision of Alex Palou, the strategic thinking from Alex Palou. Like he sits out a lot of these practice sessions with no worry, and he kind of gets in once the track's rubbered in, no urgency there. I could see him playing that card at the start of the race. And then I think David Malukas just happy to ride as well, somewhere in the top 3, maybe knowing that of those 3, maybe Team Penske with their pit stop excellence could do the hard work for Malukas.
Had a brief chat with Alex this morning, just talking about how magical his run was yesterday. And I said to him, you've got one hell of a race car. You want to know his response? He said, oh, don't I know it.
Good. Well, every time we've gone to a, Malukas onboard, James, I haven't seen a single adjustment out of those hands. It's like he's just playing the fixed setup on iRacing, and he's happy with it.
And it's good and bad.
What's going on?
Who's that?
It sounded either like Daly, maybe Kirk.
I think it's Connor. I think, well, maybe it's Kirk. You're right. They both have a similar tone.
That was Malukas.
That was
actually.
Malukas. Okay, so yeah,
really?
He was unable to pop out on Stingray into 3. We saw him pull out, but couldn't complete. Okay, we're not sure exactly whose radio it was. May have been
I'm gonna go with
Power, but
I think Daly Kirkwood. It sounded Rossi just crashed. Huge crash. I'm watching the onboard. Unbelievable.
Oh,
no.
Boy, that's Rossi. That's Alexander Rossi.
Dennis Hauger is involved as well.
I was just looking up at our matrix of onboard cameras, and I
Padua
couldn't
Ward.
believe my eyes.
Was in Grosjean.
Sorry, it's Grosjean, not Hauger.
Small fire at the back of Grosjean's car, just underneath that rear left tire. That is the man who starts second for the Indy 500s, and we had been so fortunate in our week of practice to run without incident. Rossi losing it midway through 2.
All by
Runs
himself.
up high, left side.
And then you see Padua Ward trying to avoid it, gets on the brakes, lifts off, and just spins in the avoidance. These cars are so sensitive to the pitch. A big movement, a big adjustment on the pedals mid-corner can have that exact effect.
And that is a huge hit from Alexander Rossi to get hit by Padua Ward. Gearbox first going backwards.
And then same for Grosjean. You see he spun all by himself earlier in the avoidance. As everybody checks up, you make those adjustments in the cockpit is so tough. Let's listen.
Those speeds, it's over in a moment.
Wrong place, wrong time for Padua Ward.
Oh. Man, Rossi was already so loose.
That was an enormous shunt, such a big hit.
This second one here where Pato gets into the side of him too, they're both massive impacts.
And all the crash structure on the left part of the car has already been used up and absorbed the impact from the wall initially, so that definitely would have been a jarring second hit for Rossi. But it was a subtle loose moment. Like you say, he was kind of loose in the middle and then just snapped very quickly.
I'm surprised that he would have stayed out. We show 24 laps on Rossi's tires, so he's about 6 laps from when you would normally be pitting, and man, that thing was hanging on by a thread. And good heads-up move from Lundgaard there.
Oh, on board with Rossi. Oh man, that's horrible.
It's a terrible feeling. That moment when it breaks and you know as a driver there's absolutely nothing left for you to do but hang on.
That's where everything feeling pretty chill at 220 feels like, oh my goodness, I'm going 220.
Right.
Yeah, 220 becomes very real in that moment.
Yeah, you've cut 12, 13 miles an hour off what they were doing yesterday, and like you say, it feels so stable and comfortable until something goes wrong, and then it becomes very apparent.
And this is it. in real time how fast it all goes south. Award with nowhere to go. Grosjean into the melee as well. And for Rossi, what had been a perfect week and a brilliant race car, well, for two of our top six, actually, for Rossi and for O'Ward. That's their race cars, the cars that the team spend months finessing.
Oh, incredible job from Daly to avoid some damage to the front wing there from debris. You can see
he's got a damaged front wing now. He took a pretty big piece there on the right front.
But hey, he'll take a damaged wing.
Now on board with O'Ward. And you see how quickly everything transpires in front of him.
Let me ask you a question. Rossi loses it. O'Ward backs off the throttle and loses it off throttle. Is there any chance that there was any fluid on the track there? Because as loose as Rossi was, it was shocking. Rossi's didn't surprise me if he was really that loose, but when I saw O'Ward there, boy,
so
it looked too aggressive the way O'Ward spun there on the throttle lift. These cars are pitch sensitive, but that was, I don't know. I'm not saying there was. I'm just throwing out the speculation. Go ahead, Will.
I'm not a driver, but in that moment where you see the wheel is at one angle, when he sees Rossi coming back in front of him, I feel like he almost threw it into a spin so that he wasn't going nose first, potentially, into the side of Rossi's car.
It wasn't an intentional spin. I see what you're getting at, but that all happened so quick. And again, you always have to get a little bit outside the line there, and the grip just completely disappears.
Pato had just 7 laps on his tires as we listen to a little bit of radio here.
Check up, check up, check up, check up, check up, check up, check up. Gonna go super low when you get off the corner, way low. There's one wrecked on the bottom, so shoot the middle, stay low. Coming back across. Low here, all clear.
Just threading the needle. Great calling from the spotter. He's seeing it happen, trying to give the driver as much information as they can on where the incident is, how to avoid getting collected in it. But again, just a monumental impact for Rossi.
And the likelihood is really that if you think about Rossi and Pato, two of the very best at setting up their car for the race, and to get these things to turn in dirty air, you've got to run them pretty free. And I think maybe what you're seeing is just two of the freer race cars tipping it over just that much.
Wind definitely a factor, definitely contributing to today's difficult conditions.
Rossi onto the wall at 165 miles an hour.
Another angle here from Santino Ferrucci.
Whoa. Wow, big save.
So close to the same issue.
Townsend, you notice again that correction mid-corner.
I do, and that's how pitch sensitive these cars are. When you get off the throttle, weight moves forward to the nose. That's making the contact patch of the rear tire smaller, the contact patch of the front tire bigger, and they're running on such a ragged edge. And you know what? Great example again of that seat of the pants, raw instinct talent of Santino Ferrucci to not only hang on to the race car, but figure out how to avoid any contact with debris. You can say it's luck, but he's done it so many times now to keep his car in one piece.
I'm glad you said that. I want to go back to the onboard of Santino, and what I want you to think, listen how quickly he gets off the throttle when you see the smoke. He's looking so far ahead. He's looking 3-4 cars in front of him. As soon as you see that tire smoke, he's already out of the throttle instantly, and then that's when the car control has to kick in.
It's a great point, and I'll go back to what we heard from Josef Newgarden, spotter down there in turn 1. A brilliant job of recognizing it. And, you know, the turn 1 spotter loses sight of it as you get to the apex of turn 2, but he was early on the radio with Newgarden as well. That all factors hugely into accident avoidance as the AMR safety team continues to clean up.
Yo, get the bottom, get the bottom, get the bottom. Yo, get the bottom, get the bottom, get the bottom, get the bottom. Thank you. No problem, get it, go ahead for.
Good job, both of you guys.
Great call.
That's a great example of just how powerful the advice of your spotter is in a situation like that. Front row starter Alexander Rossi, 6th place starter Pato O'Ward involved in a big incident out on track. That's your pole sitter yet to make it out on track under caution here in Indy.
This is Indy's champagne. It doesn't come from Champagne, France, but from the southern region of this Holstein dairy cow. Rich, smooth, and best paired with victory.
The official INDYCAR app, powered by NTT Data, puts the pulse-pounding action of INDYCAR right at your fingertips. Never miss a lap with the latest news, highlights, and live race coverage. Track every move with real-time leaderboards, interactive maps, onboard cameras, and driver radio. Your all-access pass to every race, every moment, every day. Download the official INDYCAR app.
Legends Day, of course, is on Saturday. Come check out that drivers' meeting. We've got the Legends autograph session going on, and then the big show.
Well, that is a sad sight. The race car of Alexander Rossi, which had qualified so incredibly yesterday, carted away from the scene of a massive impact here at Indianapolis.
The good news, if there's any to be taken out of this, is there's still another session. ECR, very experienced team, very resourced team. They'll have backup cars if that's what's required. This crew will be able to bolt together another challenger for Rossi, and he'll get 2 hours on Friday to go tune that thing in. This is not, you know, the end of everything potentially going well for the 20 car.
As you say, bolt it together. How many months are put into preparing the perfect car for the Indy 500?
A lot. It's a lot of man hours, but I want to just point back to last year. You only have to go to last year with Dreyer Reinbold and Ryan Hunter-Reay, who took a pit stop car and nearly won the race.
Here's the driver's eye replay thanks to Javis House of Rossi losing it there. You talk about bolting the car back together. What about bolting the mentality for Rossi back together after this monster hit? If this had happened on carb day and the next time he sees the racetrack, you're 3 wide from the front row, you talk about hesitation. All of a sudden, I was just describing 30 minutes ago how aggressive I thought this guy would be at the start to seize opportunity. I think now you'll see a very different approach to turn 1 for Alexander Rossi. Maybe not as much having that carb day practice, but this memory of why that happened and how he can avoid it, that's got to play into the opening laps come Sunday.
We'd gone all the way through the open test, the week of practice, our qualifying day, with no incident. Only one driver really had brushed the wall, and that was Takuma Sato. When you have such a clean run here at Indy, does that play on drivers' minds at all? Does it ever get in there that something is coming?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's the, you know, when is the other shoe going to drop kind of thing. There's almost an inevitability to some kind of incident at the Speedway, but you always have to strap in the car believing it's not going to be you. And unfortunately for the 4 drivers involved, they got bit today.
Is that the biggest crash of Alexander Rossi's IndyCar career?
I want to say he had a big one in Texas one year, maybe even been his rookie year. And he's hit the wall in turn 2 here in the race, I think back in 2020, running well, kind of overcorrected and went in forward. So, I mean, it's up there. It's on the podium.
If somebody asked me, putting wind aside, what's the trickiest corner at Indy? I'd say turn 2 for exactly that reason.
100%.
For some mathematical or physical reason, the groove is so narrow there, it can bite you.
4 drivers involved in that incident. One of them, Romain Grosjean, has left the care center. He's with Georgia.
Romain Grosjean is one of the first to exit the infield medical care center. What did you see from your vantage point?
Quite a lot of smokes and debris in front, and then powder speeding, and I tried to avoid the impact and jump on the brake and spun. I think most importantly, Alex is in a good spirit there. Pato as well. We have to rebuild the race car, right? That's the part that's a little bit tougher because we had a good car. But we're good. We're Friday, and still think we're going to do a good job.
Back Friday for Romain. Thank you.
Good to hear from Roman. Good to hear his report as well, that Pato and Alex are in good spirits in the medical care center as well. That really was a huge, huge hit. We are still under caution. When we get back up and running again, there is an intention to run hot pit stops from 1:45, which is in 2 minutes time, and that is because the weather system that we saw coming in very quickly is on the verge of hitting the motor speedway. So as soon as we get practice started again, hot stops will be happening.
We've got a little bit of radio from Pato O'Ward's car post-accident. Let's ride on board with the number 5.
Okay, buddy, are you okay?
Stop it when you can.
Car's not. You're the important part there. We can rebuild it.
He's such a driver. Car's done. Dude, let us know you're okay first. We'll deal with the race car, and they will. This, again, another incredibly capable crew. I had a qualifying wreck driving for this group back in 2019. Thought we were done on Saturday for sure. Weren't going to be getting back into trying to make the show on Sunday. I was back on the track 3.5 hours later, trying to hold it flat through the same corner that bit me. These guys and girls are going to be just fine getting this car fixed.
Well, as Pato's number 5 gets pulled back into the garage for a rebuild, Pato himself is with Georgia.
Pato O'Ward, seen and released. You reacted, but once that happened, you were kind of a passenger. How intimidating and scary is it in that moment?
Yeah, I'm okay. I just feel bad for my car. Just wrong place, wrong time, and just got collected there. And these cars don't stop very well when you're going at those speeds, and with how we run the brakes and everything. Just I obviously hit the brakes and it couldn't really do much to avoid it. So I'm glad Alex is all right, Roman as well. But yeah, just sucks. Wrong place, wrong time.
We are so glad you're okay. Thank you.
And that was the end of Pato O'Ward's run. We'll be back to Indy, where hopefully we will get back to practicing ways, and there the spare car for Alexander Rossi already being wheeled out from ECR.
The Indy 500 doesn't have a red carpet. It has bricks, riddled with oil, dirt, and 114 years of history. Pucker up.
We talk preparation at the Indianapolis 500. How about that? Number 20, the reserve car, already built up pretty much and ready to run. I think that may be 2 spare cars for Alexander Rossi. ECR prepped and ready as Pato O'Ward watches on the replay of the crash that took him and Alexander Rossi out. We're back in Indianapolis, and my apologies, first and foremost. Alexander Rossi's car being pushed into his garage was, of course, the one that had come off the tow truck and had crashed into the wall. But the right-hand side looked so pristine and untouched that I think for both Townsend and myself, we wondered whether they had two spares built up. Of course, that is the car. That is not a built-up spare. That is the one. And you can see the ferocity of the impact and the damage to that left-hand side of the car. And once again, demonstrating the incredible strength of these Indy cars, the work that Dallara has done tirelessly to improve driver safety.
First car in the pack going into one.
He will revert to the backup car, which was outside the garage. Important to note as well that when you move to a backup car, should you have an incident out there on track in these practice days, you don't lose your grid spot. If you have an engine change, you won't get a penalty either. This is the Indy 500. So Alexander Rossi will still take his place second in the middle of the front row for the Indy 500. Alex Palou now our pole sitter, our reigning champion, reigning race winner out on track.
On your bumper. Outside, clear by one.
Palou out there on brand new Firestone sticker tires. Slots in just ahead of Will Power.
This is one of the tough things about this session is there can be such a disparity between tire life. Sometimes you feel absolutely horrible, think that your car is awful, and it's because the cars around you are all on tires that have, you know, single digits of laps on them. Meanwhile, you're there in the mid-20s. It's something that the teams have to communicate to their drivers, to pretty much every car that you're around, what their tire life is, so as to not cause concern. But with Palou coming out after everyone else has already been running, really no one else is out there on tires quite as fresh as your pole sitter.
Yeah, you see how easily he was able to not just draft up on the straightaway, but in the corners close on Graham Rahal. Rahal 11 laps on his tires. Palou brand new. Jamie, what can you tell us?
Well, you guys have talked a lot about Connor Daly and the speed that he's had this month so far. Well, unfortunately, after that big incident with Rossi and Pato O'Ward, Daly got some damage. They had to replace the front wing and also found that they had a lot of underwing damage that they cannot fix out here, have to take it back to the garage. So instead of running a bunch of practice laps to continue, they're just focusing on hot stops here.
And that's smart for them to get the practice in. Also brilliant in terms of their timing of where they sent Connor Daly out right into the only part of the track at the moment with no cars on it. So he doesn't have to run at full speed, can come and do the hot stops, as is his teammate Jack Harvey.
Yeah, I like this from Dry Reinbold Racing. This team just racing once a year in the Indy 500. And we know the cars are fast, James, but where can things go wrong? Certainly on pit lane. This is an area where they're always strong and practice a ton. They look crisp, they look practiced.
It's about a 6-second stop.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that at all. If you could do that all day long, the 6 times, give or take, that you'll have to do it next Sunday, that's going to put you in a good spot.
Tidy.
Yes, let me ask a question. If you're a football team in season, chances are your practices, you're going to be in full pads. Yeah, they have a walkthrough, but there's not a lot of opportunity for full pads practice here. It's a small thing, but would you put your crew members all in the fire suits that restrict some of the movement a little bit more for this practice to just make sure they're fully gamed up?
I don't hate that idea, to be honest, and maybe that's something that we see more of on Carb Day. We see more traffic running, more action on track here.
You know what I mean, Will? It's like as competitive as the pit stops have become, there's so much talk of athletes coming from outside sport into the sport of IndyCar racing. We know what's happening with Ryan Hunter-Reay and McLaren, thanks to Tony Kanaan talking about bringing NASCAR pit stop experts into the sport for the race who are former college athletes. I just think about all these little things that you're really trying to eliminate variables that could cause a mistake. It's something as simple as just the racing uniform, the fire suit, the one-piece fire suit on pit lane. It's a small one, but something I was just thinking about is the guy we were just speaking of, Ryan Hunter-Reay, comes to his box.
It's an easy clear in here.
Hopefully for a pit stop, let's watch this crew that he's brought over from Jimmy Johnson's NASCAR program. Kevin.
And so that's exactly right. This is part of the legacy program, and they have people with a lot of experience here trying out something entirely different. Jake Holmes is doing the air jack, bringing the tire over as well. He's a part of the development program for Legacy. He is a Division II former football player, played in the Arena League. Josh Leslie is doing the outside rear. He is the Legacy pit stop coach, but has about 20 years experience in NASCAR.
Yeah, so he's done the air jack and then pulls that right rear on. And we've talked about it a lot this week, guys. Is that the start of something that we will start to see as the norm in IndyCar?
Here comes Ryan Hunter-Reay back in.
Taking advantage of this opportunity to practice pit stops while it's still available. Remember, weather is still on the move, potentially coming to the Speedway.
And as it stands, guys, with about an hour left of running, the top 5 fastest drivers of the day so far are all Indy 500 race wins.
That's a great point. That's the experience paying off, showing in practice how to time those passes, how and where to position your car. Yes, it's going to help you get a good lap, but that's because you're executing the pass. You're not having to bail out of it. So yeah, that experience definitely pays.
12.
5 Indy 500 winners, and then Jack Harvey. Gotta love that.
10 laps
24
complete.
still showing great speed on this. The second to last practice opportunity is another couple of winners with Ericsson and Castro Neves mixing it up right there. Ericsson in that orange car.
With Newgarden behind.
Ericsson throwing the block he wished he'd thrown late in the race last year, not letting anybody have a thought that they can get on the inside of him into turn 1.
Oh man, but when we talk about, you know, Collette and Harvey, Ericsson got thrown to the back of the order last year after the 500. Imagine if he'd won.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I wasn't picking up what you were saying. Yeah, disqualification, you mean, post-race after winning rather than finishing second. Yeah, not ideal. That would not have been a fun story to write. Fun announcement for IndyCar to make.
No, but you have to say, though, that, you know, after recent controversies, and for as galling as it will be for Caio Collet, for Jack Harvey, the officiating board, the officiating body, scrutineers, doing what they're supposed to do. Find an infraction, whether it brings a benefit or not. The rules judged in a black and white fashion.
Newgarden sitting atop the time charts right now, and you can see, watch the master at work. I mean, back-to-back Indy 500 wins, and then you just think back to last year, starting on that final row, the way he was able to work his way up through traffic to get himself into contention before the mechanical issue that they had. He showed he could do it from the front, and he's shown that he can race his way up from the back if needed, and he's putting that on display right now.
Newgarden's run last year was absolutely exhilarating. He was on course, had the strategies played out, and had the race continued for him, because obviously he had that technical issue that saw him fall out of contention and fall out of the race. Had he brought that through to conclusion, he would have been in the mix. Last 10 laps, he'd have been there, 100%.
Without a doubt, absolutely on fire. He was so dialed in, and you could see the disappointment. You know, look, you're always disappointed to not finish the Indy 500, but when you were on a run, on course to potentially make history, not just as a 3-in-a-row winner, but winning from the furthest back on the grid, there was all sorts of history up for grabs there for Newgarden last year.
Speaking of Newgarden, Bulls gave us a great stat, which is the fastest car in this practice the last 2 years has gone on to win the race. So Newgarden owned the Monday practice back in 2024, and it was Palou, of course, last year. So if you like those numbers, you like Newgarden's chances right now.
An hour left to run. Severe lightning warning in place at the track. We'll be back to Indianapolis. back in Indianapolis. Will Power hoping to make up for a disappointing qualifying performance for both himself and his Andretti team. We sit on board with him. It has been a tough couple of days for Andretti, a sobering couple of days for Andretti, but if there's one thing that they maybe can take out of the last 24, 48 hours, it's that they do have a fast race car, but boy, they're going to need it.
Pretty good action right here, but once again, Alex Palou breezing to the front of that group. But let's go back and just take a look at some pit stop practice here as we frame something up. First, we're going to take a look at Connor Daly.
And what's important to note here, you've got 4 tires already laid out on the track, on the surface, waiting. That outside rear tire changer essentially does the outside rear, does the right rear in isolation.
This is Cal Collette coming in. Again, that outside rear is already sitting in place. And you see the air jack guy removes the tire, but the outside rear changer places it, clocks it onto the hub. Watch the difference with Ryan Hunter-Reay and his legacy NASCAR crew at the back.
You see how the outside rear tire changer actually carried the right rear tire with him. Then it was the jack man gets the wand in to lift the car up, takes that second tire and brings it into position for the right rear to then just bolt it on. Different strategy.
And critically, I think what's really interesting with that is that by eliminating that 4th tire on the ground, you actually widen the angle that the car can slide in on. Then you put it in place. It's an easier route in for the driver.
It definitely is easier for the driver to get in.
And rather than relying on one man to gun, remove one tire, place it down, lift up another and put it on, you ultimately have 2 individuals responsible for that one tire. It's a brilliant, brilliant change.
Well, the outside rear is normally assisted now by the air jack guy to get the tire off, but Tony Kanaan told us the other day in the booth, it's worth a second. He was blown away. Kevin, what did you see? You're right there at the 31 pits.
So I watched him do either 4 or 5, and what was supposed to be their last one did not go very well. The car came down before they won a couple of times as the yellow comes out for caution. So they did one more. It was flawless. So I think it was 4 of the 5 went well. It's still a work in progress, and they'll get more chance to try to perfect that on Friday.
We think that this caution that is out is for weather, and as I look out of our commentary position window to the main grandstands, it is emptying very fast. We believe that there is lightning within 8 miles of the track, and for that reason the crowd is being advised to leave the grandstands, and for that reason we will leave Indianapolis just for a few moments. Don't you guys go anywhere. We'll be back for more insight as we prepare for the 110th running of the Indy 500.
This is Indy's champagne. It doesn't come from Champagne, France, but from the southern region of this Holstein dairy cow. Rich, smooth, and best paired with victory.
Miserable weather has sadly cancelled Monday practice for the 110th running of the Indianapolis 500, which means the last chance the drivers will get to tune their cars for the race is practice on Friday, Carb Day. That comes your way live at 11 a.m. on FS1. Then it's the Weenie 500 and the pit stop competition, 2 p.m. Eastern, live on Fox. And the 500 itself, 10 a.m. Eastern on Fox, Sunday, 24th May.
We are green.
33 drivers are going to sprint into the eye of a tornado.
Let's go.
The Indianapolis 500.